Welcome to the Sleevy G Show. I'm your host, or your most, and my name is Gomez. And today, like any night here at the Sleevy G Show, we have an amazing special guest. I would like to bring in Johnny DiFatta. If I said it correctly, I apologize. I said it before correctly,
Perfect.
but I want to introduce him. He is part of the AXN Guitar Company and with collaboration with Bruce Kulick. Johnny, how are you tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I know we're here to talk about the new Kulick AXN guitars that we just finished producing, and we were highlighted on in Guitar World magazine in October.
And that's an amazing thing. I mean, to get highlighted in Guitar World magazine is always
Thank
a
you.
highlight in anybody's notch under their belt or career too, because that's a hard magazine, man. When you think about all the guitars that are out there, you know what I mean, and people who use them.
Well, that magazine was on the shelves way back when, and everybody was looking at their favorite guitar player on the cover of that magazine. So, um, to be mentioned in Guitar World magazine and to have them interview me and Bruce Kulick for this venture we're in is pretty great, I think. So, there was a lot of that's a good article to go back and look for if you're tuning into this program because really there was a lot of detail put into it, and I have to thank all the people over at Guitar World for putting that out in October.
Now, I got to ask this question. First of all, I do want to read that article myself. I have to get it myself, so I will read that
Yes,
article too.
please
Um,
do.
But I definitely want to know, how did you get collaboration with Bruce Kulick, if you don't mind me asking? How did you guys meet up and how did this venture become together?
Well, I mean, if people are familiar with Bruce Kulick, he was in Kiss
Hmm.
for I think 14 years, all the way through to Carnival of Souls, I think, right? So he had a lot to do with the music and the sound that was going on during the entire 80s, basically. Because Kiss was a pretty much a late 70s band, and they did have luck in the 80s, and a lot of it had to do with Bruce and him participating in song creation. But the thing that we're here to talk about is the guitars that Bruce Kulick from Kiss likes.
Hmm.
So me and him have been friends now for quite a few years, and initially we just got together because we were both vintage guitar collectors, and Bruce reached out to me because we had similar tastes, and he had gotten familiar with the guitars at the AXN guitars to some extent, and so we became friends and we talked about vintage guitars, ESP guitars, really, because during the 80s, in the heyday of his era of Kiss, the band, he liked ESP guitars. And so he inevitably became an endorsee for ESP and was pictured in the catalogs, starting with, I think, the 1987 catalog.
Hmm.
And so the guitars that he used were great guitars, and at that time ESP was basically making handmade guitars. And so later in the years they became more of a high production manufacturing unit that was making guitars, but at that time ESP was doing basically handmade guitars on a high level of production and doing it all in Japan. So he really liked some of the things that were going on with the guitars he used on the Asylum album and other Kiss albums. And so we researched those guitars, and I scientifically diagnosed a formula for what Bruce Kulick likes when he's playing a rock and roll guitar.
And you guys have been, and the collaboration for both of you guys has been amazing. I could tell, and I'm
Thanks.
seeing because, um, first of all, Bruce is true musician. Like if you heard Kiss, if people who don't know who Kiss is, like in the now this new generation of people who are growing up now, you know what I mean? I was in the age of I was born in 79, I'll say it, and Kiss was one of those bands you hear growing up, you know what I mean? Learning who they are, what songs they were singing, and their live presence when they do a show, it's unbelievable. Um, at those
So
times.
I was just looking at something that came across my Instagram, and it was Kiss. It was a video from the late 70s, and all the aspects of Kiss was new and exciting to everybody at the time. So most people did grow up with Kiss. As a matter of fact, I think there's a newer generation of kids are discovering it just on the image alone. So,
Hmm.
but what it boils down to is they're a hard rock band, and the guitars and all the instruments that Kiss uses in any configuration of the band Kiss have always been very, very specialized instruments. Even the drums that were Peter Criss used early on, nobody had a drum set that big. And guitars were just flashy, and they screamed out of Marshall stacks. So that's been the whole that was it at its essence for the band Kiss. So when I dug a little bit deeper, I found out why Bruce had the sound he had, and I found out what gear he was using during some of the larger tours that they did when they were touring the world in the 80s. And some of his favorite guitars. There's a banana guitar that's a yellow guitar made by ESP. And there was a couple other guitars he used that were ESP guitars. And they were one humbucker guitars, and they had one hot Seymour Duncan JB in them, and they put them through stacks of Marshalls, and everybody there just learned in that time period, really learned to work with what was available. And those things still are available, although we have a lot of different amps now and we have a lot of different guitars to choose from. But at that time, humbucker pickups had come out, been in use for 10 years. And, there's a lot of things that were new and exciting at that time as far as being a guitar player. And we went and figured out what Bruce liked as far as the thickness of his neck, the fretboard wood, body wood, how he likes his Floyd Rose trem setup. And I did a lot of scientific calculations back and forth till we created the perfect guitar. And that's what you're seeing if you've seen any of the pictures that were in that Guitar World magazine in
Hmm.
October of 24. There's an Asylum guitar. It has Bruce's face from the cover of Kiss Asylum. And I had that artwork created on the guitar, and he's got two of them, two AXNs that have that artwork. So it was pretty exciting to dig a little deeper under the hood and find out exactly what was going on with his rigs and his guitars during the period of the mid to late 1980s.
Wow. Now the question is, how long did it take for you and Bruce to get that one guitar not I shouldn't say manufactured made, because I know you said it took time, but how long did it take to develop it? I know so people understand, it doesn't take a week to develop a guitar like that. You're like you said there's a lot of science that goes into it, from the wood to the strings to everything. How long did it take to make that first one?
Well, it was a growth process over 6 months. Initially, me and Bruce got the necks he liked off of the guitars that he had kept in his collection,
Mm.
and I calibrated them. There's ways to figure out how thick the neck is, and how at certain points at the 12th fret, at the first fret, at fret 7, and once you figure out the dimensions of the neck itself, and you figure out what frets are on it and all the finite details, we I kept giving him a guitar with slight variation, got a little bit closer to the things he was familiar with. And once it got in his hands, he played it a little bit, and there was some back and forth. He wanted a light guitar because he doesn't like to carry around a boat anchor like he says. He likes to carry around a nice light guitar he can maneuver the stage with without hurting his back after an hour. So by the time it all floated to the top, we had virtually his players' favorite things in one guitar. So, and I can give you some of that information. He loves Seymour Duncan JB pickups. He loves a rosewood fretboard, ebony at times. He likes 6105 Dunlop frets, and he likes a 14-inch fretboard radius, and he likes a non-reverse headstock on his guitars, and he loves his German Floyd Rose original tremolo. So, and when he's playing, Bruce likes to use nines. He used to use tens when he was younger, but he moved to nines as you get older. Some things change a little bit, and so
Hmm.
people tend to go lighter string gauges or even thinner frets. But we packaged everything, and what you're going to get when you buy a Kulick guitar is you're going to get everything Bruce loves in a guitar, exactly the way he wishes all his guitars would react. So it took us 6 months to 8 months to really get all his specs down where he tried them out and he felt like he was playing a throwback guitar from the 1980s. So
So wow, and that's a long time of developing because you want to make sure, like you said, he's happy, but you're also putting out a great product too.
you
You
got it.
know,
And I manufactured all that stuff, the first prototype fresh for him. So
oh nice. I mean, yeah, you gotta the man who you're developing it for, that prototype has to be his, probably, without a doubt. And that thing is probably hanging like right now in his. If I wouldn't be surprised if he had a room of guitars, I could see it hanging right now. You know what I mean?
yeah, he does have quite a few guitars himself. He collects a lot. So that Asylum guitar was one of three guitars that we did. And so he's got two of those that have the Kiss Asylum artwork on the front of them. I'm not
Ooh.
sure what he's going to do with them. There is word that he's going to sell one of the two Asylum guitars that he has right now. So, but in the future, Bruce is going to be producing these. I'm going to be manufacturing the guitars, and he's going to be producing them and painting that, having them painted with graphics or whatever he does in the future to look like some of the guitars he used during his era of Kiss.
That's gonna be, how can I say, really awesome without
It
cursing
is.
my
It's
head
pretty
off.
awesome.
That is gonna be really awesome because people who followed Kiss and loved the music and see him playing the guitars, I think that's gonna be a hot seller. I will say that.
Well, he has, Bruce has quite a following, and he is active on social networks. So you can see that he garners a certain audience just on his own. So, and they're always itching to get some Kiss pair. They want to get merchandise,
Mhm.
and so they're looking for anything they can add to their collection of Kiss memorabilia. So, and some people are real guitar players. So the ones that are after my guitars that Bruce would end up painting in the likeness of his Kiss era guitars would probably be real guitar players, and they because my guitars are meant to be played. They're
Mhm.
not just a wall hanger. So, um, although there's a lot of people that collect very expensive collectible guitars that don't know how to play guitar, but the ones we're doing are equipped and ready to go on the road and play live. So, and they hold all the attributes that I really think make them rock and roll guitars.
And that's pretty cool. I mean, with Bruce on board with you guys and the collaboration for you guys and AXN, it's just an amazing defeat. Put together, you got one hell of a thing going on. You know what I mean? I we know we're talking about Bruce, but any other, and I'm always curious because, everyone's got their own specialty guitars that everyone loves. Is there any other guys like who come to you saying, "Hey, can you build me a guitar?" Besides Bruce, you know what I mean? Like any like other rockers that come in, talk to you personally and say, "Hey, I need a custom guitar built for me."
Well, since virtually all my guitar orders are custom orders,
Hmm.
every single customer comes with their set of specifications that they'd like to see in a guitar. Um, Truthfully, they come and they want an AXN guitar, so I'll recommend some of the technical details.
Hmm.
Um, for example, I use a 15-inch radius on my guitars, and most of them are maple necks, and I use flame maple a lot of the time, and people like that. And so, if someone comes and they already, let's say that they like mahogany wood because they
Right.
they like a Les Paul and they like a really thick hard rock sound, I'll inform them on what the different tone woods can offer. And I'll ask them what amps they play out of live or what they enjoy playing out of at home. And I'll recommend the woods that we manufacture the guitar out of. So, and I have my favorite tone woods because I understand all the tone woods. So,
Hmm.
depending on the player, I'll give them a formula for the wood types, and I'll give them a real AXN that has all the details of an AXN. For example, this guitar over here that we're looking at, it's got a
Right.
15-inch radius. It's got a reverse headstock. I can see it back here. It's got my star graphic. That seems to be my flagship design. And people come, they want that guitar, and maybe they want to change it up. Maybe they want to put a Carina body with a maple top and make it have a certain tone. So, and it'll be a full custom. But this year I did put out a number of guitars that are for sale. I have 6 right now that I produced from my favorite combinations of wood. And so those are available, and I'm trying to keep them in the shop for when people just want an AXN.
Hmm.
And like you mentioned, I do have, if you're asking whether or not I have rock stars that are buying guitars and come because they want a touring guitar, I do. And so the thing about it is that all five of the artists that I have currently on my roster of artists
Hmm.
are touring. And so each one of them really kind of likes different things in guitars. So I changed it up with those artists. And I ended up to the point where I have refined a guitar that becomes a tool for a touring musician. And there's a lot of things to learn because when I may be getting a little long-winded here,
Oh
but
no, that's all right. Please.
yeah, that when someone's playing live under conditions that they're not sure from one venue to the next what
Hmm.
that condition is going to be, they end up picking their favorite guitar, and that's why you
Right.
usually see a rock star play the same guitar at every show because they bond with it. And that happened with my artists. So visibility is a big deal. When you're looking at a neck under a bunch of different colored lights, you want to see where the frets are a lot of the time quickly. And so the placement of the volume control, that needs to be within the right distance to the pickup. If you're doing
Right.
hand muting or you're playing a lot of lead and you're getting back and forth on the volume. And so I've done things like eliminated switches that have no use in rock and roll music. And there's a lot of the times when you just don't need a single coil pickup and you don't really use a clean sound. So there's not any reason to have a bunch of tone pots and all these switches that do out of phase and all this other junk. So my guitars are rock and roll guitars. If you look over here, I'm glad I
Yeah.
have this one up. The distance between that volume knob and the bridge is perfect if you play hard rock and roll. And you don't need a bunch of on off switches or other things to clutter your creativeness when you're out on the road touring, trying to play a set hour and a half set of rock songs. So
Right.
I really tailored my guitars for just basically on common sense.
And I'll tell you this, Johnny, that is a beautiful guitar in the background. I've never learned how to play guitar. I always wanted to, but I never did. But I always loved hearing guys who played solos. You know what I mean? Like I grew up listening again to Bruce with Kiss, uh, Slash from
Well,
Guns N'
here I got
Roses.
something. If you wanted to play guitar and you haven't done it yet, it's never too late. I tell both girls and guys that everybody should play guitar, and it is the truth. Because sometimes I'll meet an older gentleman. He tells me, "Oh yeah, I just learned how to play Smoke on the Water or something."
Mhm.
So get out and buy a guitar. It doesn't have to be an AXN, but buy a guitar you could sit on and enjoy and learn a couple chords, and there's going to be a lot of satisfaction in that. Doesn't matter if you're a girl or a guy. There's a lot to, that can a lot of you can get a lot of peace of mind by trying to play guitar and learning a few chords. So
Yeah.
don't let that stop you. But once you get beyond to where you become a most of my customers have been buying guitars and playing enough guitar where they know what they really want in a guitar.
Mhm.
And that's who I was. So I just over this business is 10 years old now. So and I've been a collector for decades. So I bought so many guitars. I was quoted in that Guitar World article in October of 2024, just a month ago. And if you look that up, go look for the Guitar World,
Mhm.
AXN Guitars, and Bruce Kulick. I talk about how many guitars I've collected, how many I've owned at any one time. And so I just kept dissecting guitars till I figured out exactly what made sense in modern times if you're playing rock and roll.
And that's one thing. Like I appreciate anybody who plays guitar acoustically or hard rock or any kind of guitar because some like I said, some of my favorites are Slash, Bruce, Tom Petty on top of it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
guys who have that. Even I'll say even Eric Clapton, watching him play, seeing him play, listening to him. You know what I mean? It's amazing thing. Something even acoustically to play some songs in acoustic, like some of these songs that have incredible solos, is just an amazing thing. And I just when I hear it, I go into a trance, like I
Yeah.
stop thinking and I just like listening to it. You know what I mean? And I mean it's the same for you. When you were younger, what was your first love about a guitar? When you first picked it up, what was your first love?
My first love.
Yeah, of the guitar. Like when you picked it up, like how did you do that? Like you know,
What caused me to want to play guitar?
yeah,
Well, that's kind of what's weird about this relationship between me and Bruce Kulick from Kiss. I was a big Kiss fan when I was a kid, so
okay.
I think I was Ace Frehley for Halloween for, gosh, I must have been Ace Frehley for like from when I was in junior high till I was it was when it wasn't till it wasn't cool to dress up anymore and trick or treat. So probably Ace Frehley every year. And so I was a big Kiss fan to start, and I wanted to play Kiss songs. So I think when I got my first guitar, I sat there. I remember what it was. It was an Ibanez Destroyer, and I played that thing. I tried to play Kiss songs, is what I did. So, but I was a big Aerosmith fan, and I liked Queen, and I liked I liked a lot of bands from that era.
Hmm.
And as the '80s approached, when I started playing in bands, that's when I really wanted to know why guitars did what they did. I wanted to
Right.
put different pickups in them, and I, I discovered what happens when your Marshall stack starts feeding back, and it sounds like a monster. So that's just what those things still get. Those still rile my senses. So and what's even more beautiful about living in 2024 now 2025 is there's so many things available for you. So like in the old days, guys used to take their Marshall amps and they'd go have them modded. Well, there's 10 different kinds of amps that sound like a modded Marshall, in some form. So just
Hmm.
go buy an amp off the shelf and it's going to be great. It's the same with guitars. If you find the right guitar and it's exactly what you want, you can go get it. It's available to you. There's luthiers that are like me that are manufacturing their own guitars, except their guitars look absolutely different than mine, but they're cool guys and they have a passion for their guitars too. I could name 5 or 10 of them that are my friends.
Hmm.
They make the stuff out of great wood and they put so much time in developing each aspect of their guitars so that it's the perfect guitar for their customers.
Right.
And the beauty of it is, most of my customers are talking about their second and third AXNs after they get their first one. So once they realize what they've got in their hands, they want more. So that's beautiful thing, and I really appreciate those customers a lot.
No, and that's one thing I've learned in the years of even working in customer service is how you appreciate the customers when they come back to you and tell you how they're planning for that second, third, fourth guitar, you know what I mean? So even when I work in customer service as a inside sales and a dispatcher, but when I hear say, "Hey, great job, thank you so much for getting it out there," it's a that little satisfaction, when you hear that and someone says thank you to you and saying such an amazing job, it kind of lifts your spirits, you know.
It does, and we live in a world now where things are you don't have to look very far to get answers.
Mhm.
So I feel compelled to give the answers.
Okay.
And I was very reluctant to go on social networks for a long time, show my own face. And I was really reluctant to take on interviews like I'm doing now.
Mhm.
And at some point, because we live in a society where people want to know who's behind it, and they're usually able to find out. So I've been coming out a lot lately, answering questions, and I urge people to go to my website, AXN.com, AXNguitars.com, and shoot me an email. And I'm there to answer all your questions. And every morning I spend time just answering questions for ongoing customers and possible customers, and even guys that have questions about their vintage guitars because I've been doing that for so long. It's all guitars all the time with me. So go to axnguitars.com if you have a question about something and hit me up and you'll get a response. And if you're going to buy a guitar from me, we're going to spend a lot of time understanding each other so that we
Mhm.
can develop an individualized product for you. So it's not like buying a guitar off the shelf just because it's got pretty paint on it.
Right.
We're going to develop a guitar for you that's exactly the way you want it. And fortunately, there are some AXNs that are available right now. And usually I keep a few that I'm trying to keep for that person that wants an AXN true and true. So everything that's for sale now is 100% my design and my likes in a guitar, and it's perfect for playing hard rock. So you can step right in and just put the pedal to the metal if you got an AXN guitar.
And you almost make me want to go buy one myself right now, to be honest with you.
I'll give you a deal.
I believe you.
Christmas, buy yourself one.
I wish I have to take care of the kids first on my
Yeah, I
end, you know
know
what I
it's
mean? It's
I'm
tough.
done having kids now, so yeah, I think.
Well, congratulations. And if it's your first, sleep now because you ain't sleeping yet when you have the first child.
I love my kids, and I had a great time during that era. So enjoy it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm lucky. I'm blessed. You know, I have two children. My daughter's 8, my son's 4, and my wife, she's an amazing woman. I got
So
very lucky.
now's the perfect time for you, Alex, to get out there and buy a guitar because a lot you're going to be spending a lot of time in the man cave.
Uh, I've been spending a lot of time in the man cave. It's with the kids down with me. So the good thing
Hey, who
is,
knows? You might end up a luthier like me. That's what happened to me because I was working in the corporate world forever till I started this business, and I ended up spending all my time in the man cave until man cave wasn't big enough anymore. So buy yourself a guitar, and especially if you have always wanted to do something like
mm,
that. Some people are sitting around, they've always wanted the perfect guitar and they like certain things, but they're modifying existing guitars to get to their individualized formula for the perfect guitar. So
right.
I'm giving it to them plus
And,
some. And so
and again, Johnny, that's amazing because again, you don't see guys like you take the time and really sit there and talk to that person or email that person or call them on the phone. You know what I mean? So I mean that's a awesome thing that you're doing, and this is why you get your customers who love you, the customers who got this, customers who want to be there for you. You know what I mean? Support your product, support you and the person that you are. You know what I mean? That's something that's the greatest feeling in the whole world, to be honest with you.
it is. And I feel pretty lucky right now because I am doing something I love, and I'm doing it all day, every day. Like I said, it's all guitars all the time. And when I'm out visiting my friends that are in bands that are
Mhm.
playing my guitars, that's work too. So I don't, there's what else could you ask for? But running a business has a lot of challenges in every day. And really, I look at this as an art form, what I'm doing. And so sometimes I feel like a hermit. I'm in there making guitars, and just I ain't coming out till it's done. And when the end result turns out and the finished product, like this guy sitting behind me is there, and I get the beauty is that on the way out the door, I'm going to play every guitar, and it's going to be ready to play live. Even if you're going to
Right.
play it at home in your home studio, these guitars are ready to go on the road. They're ready for the show. So I put the time in with each guitar. It's funny because I said this in my last interview, and I could see the guitars from here. I got 10 guitars ready in front of a Marshall stack over here that I got to play right now and get these things 100% quality controlled and get them out the door to customers. So it makes me have to play guitar late at night or whatever it takes to get this stuff out the door. So, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I get to do is all guitars all the time.
And again, an amazing thing that you're doing, Johnny. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
You know, what you have developed and what you have done, the collaboration with Bruce, you know, it's such an amazing thing. You know what I mean? And you know, your dreams are coming true. Like you said, you worked in the corporate world like me, and you said, you know what? I know what I want to do. I know how to do it. I'm doing it on my own, and it's like a huge dream for you. You know what I mean? And you know, that's one thing. Like for me, as an independent podcaster, it's not easy, and to meet people like yourself who have great passion of their work. Like I would love to turn this into my full-time job one day, podcasting like this, you know, and talking to interesting, awesome people like yourself.
Sure.
This is what I love to do. And you know, and people will go, well, why don't you charge? Because what's the point? I want to hear the story. I want to talk to that person. For me, it's the joy of meeting new people, meeting connections, saying how much fun we had. You know what I mean? Like
Well, and
it's
it really, I think maybe years ago, people didn't have to be doing self promotion
mhm,
so much. But it seems even if you hold a 9 to 5 job and you're working in an office or where you're out in the field, it's in these times we're in now where everything's changed. You're constantly doing self promotion.
yeah,
People are open to it, and there's so many means to do it. So if you want to be a podcaster, I meet a lot of people that want to be actors. I meet people that are musicians. They want to be professional musicians for the rest of their life. Or I met a dude that's a great sound man. He owns a sound company. He does sound for all kinds of bands. I don't even want to name all the names. And so these guys went from holding jobs either in the industry or outside the industry, and this passion and drive was inside of them. So they started to self promote, and they went out there and did it at any cost, suffered it out. First couple of years weren't profitable. Maybe the next few were a little bit profitable. And so until at which point they reached their dreams. And with me, it's the evolution of these guitars has been so satisfying because initially it was just me. I thought I was reinventing, a new mousetrap.
Hmm.
I thought I was gonna, invent one new guitar, but I started following down the line of where my roots were, and they were really in some of the guitar players that were flashy guitar players from the 1980s that I were my influences. And I just kept chasing the stuff that I grew up on, these 80s guitars, and found out that they were very unique. There's traditional guitars like your Les Pauls and your Fenders and all of these
Hmm.
stuff, and they came out in the 50s.
Right.
This stuff that's where it really took off, was in that time period. We got the 80s brought us Floyd Rose, brought us hot pickups, Marshall stacks, and that's really what it's about. And the 90s brought back things too, but the 80s were unique on their own. There was neck shapes to guitars that were specific to that era, and we learned about jumbo frets, and we
Hmm.
learned about feedback, and we learned a whole bunch of things, and they're in those guitars. And so that's what intrigued me, and that's what I tried to improve on.
And again, I gotta commend you on what you do and how you do it, man. You know, people don't
Thanks.
realize the time you put in, like as an independent podcaster, when you don't have the connections and you go on your own. Like I was on another podcast for 2 years with one of my best friends. He had all the connections, and then we stopped because his kids are a little older, my kids were a little younger, so the time frame wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like as my kids are getting older, I notice it's harder to do nighttime. And now I have to go a little earlier whenever I can. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I do.
usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays and Sundays are my only now free times because Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are so hectic in the beginning of the week.
I know
And
what you're saying. And, the truth of it is anybody that owns their own businesses, they're always working
yeah,
because everything you do is based upon work.
hmm,
So even when you're home thinking about work, that's work too.
yeah,
And that's the beauty of it. And people that are formative in the guitar industry, for example, Leo Fender, like
hmm,
that example is perfect because Leo Fender, he wasn't even a guitar player, but he was all about designing a guitar. He had other guitar players help him and tell him the stuff he was making was good.
hmm,
So there's many things written about his work ethic. So no matter what you do, if you want to go out on your own, you're going to be busting your butt. And the beauty of it is I studied all these people and I understand what they brought to the table. And that's why I tell people AXN guitars are an evolution. They're really a culmination of all the best things that came out of the history of handmade guitars. So I bring all the things together perfectly that end up equaling out a perfect guitar for rock and roll. And you're not going to want to play jazz on my guitar, probably. And you're not going to want to go play some light rock. This
hmm,
stuff is made to be played. You're made to play hard rock songs in the perfect way. I mean, the way the trems are, the way the pickups are, where the situation of all the controls are, where the plugs into the guitar, and the design of the guitar,
hmm.
way it fits on your body, everything is designed for a rock star. So, and that really is what I did when I was designing the guitars. I could go on and on about my new shape. I have a shape of guitar called a superstar.
Hmm.
It's made for freaking guys that are superstars. The thing is a rock and roll guitar. So, and that's the direction I'm going to head with it. So I'm going to
Nice.
continue, and there is momentum behind the business, and that's why we're here talking about this Guitar World story, and Bruce Kulick and I from Kiss working on guitars. He's super excited about it. It's going to be under his um, name. He's going to name these Kulick guitars. I'm going to manufacture them for him, and he's going to go out and make them look like guitars that he played in his era of Kiss.
And you know what? And you could see 2025 is going to be a big year for you guys. I have
Yeah,
a
it looks to be that way. I'm happy to see people really coming out and saying they love their AXNs they've gotten over the last few years. So
And that's awesome. I gotta say, Johnny, I really gotta thank you for coming on tonight. Um, a lot of great information because I've learned a lot from you. Just in the short time that we talked, it's an amazing thing. You know what I mean? Seeing
thanks.
you, and I can see the passion, I see the drive, but also I see the dream happening for you.
Thank you.
And you dreamed big, and that's something I preach. You know, even to my daughter and my son, dream. Don't let anybody shoot down your dreams. Keep it alive because you never know that one day it's gonna happen.
Well,
And
what's the name of your podcast?
the Sleepy G Show.
Okay, well, people are gonna tune into your show and they're gonna go to axnguitars.com and they're gonna learn some things on my website and they're gonna go find interest in some of the things that I find interest in, and we're all gonna be part of the same network.
Definitely, we are. And like I say, Johnny, thank you so much. And you know, for 2025, I wish you, Bruce, the best 2025 this year for you guys. As we're,
Thanks.
I hope you guys accomplish a lot, and the customers who come to you, I really hope the big stuff, big things are happening for you in 2025. I think. And as
Great.
we're talking, and this is me talking, and you know what? I see a lot of good things, man, and I gotta thank you again for coming tonight. I'm gonna post up the website where they could find you,
Great.
and all that. And I'm telling you, I do have to thank Raquel Figlo for introducing me to you. She's a great PR woman, and she has awesome people there. So I gotta go a little shout out to her here on the show.
Absolutely. Raquel's a great publicist, and she's really making things happen for me. And so, Raquel Figlo, public relations,
Mhm.
you're going to be able to find her in my bio. And if you need somebody to promote your band, that's what she does. She works with entertainment industry people, and
Mhm.
she's a great publicist.
She is. She has actually had a few of her clients come on the show already. So, it's a great combination. So I have to thank her a lot too. And she's been on the show too, actually. So we've talked one on one before we started getting some of her clients on the show. So it was really nice.
Great.
So
That's wonderful. Well,
Johnny,
thanks for having me on. And anytime you want me back, just yell at me.
oh, without a doubt, we have each other's numbers, man. Without a doubt, you are welcome back. I'll probably say, well, maybe we're gonna connect maybe right during springtime, a little after springtime, see how everything is going with you and Bruce, and see what's how the collaboration's been going. You know what I mean? Just
That's
get an up
wonderful.
to get an update and see what's up.
And for all the people that are watching, thanks for listening and just hit me up anytime. I'm easy to get a hold of.
Without a doubt. Well,
All
guys,
right.
as you can see, the thing is dream big and dreams do come true. And I always end my show. It's nothing but love, peace, and happiness. Good night, everybody.
Great. Thank you.